started. Again, for those who joined since we made our little opening welcome statement, we have today Martin Merrill from Sales Engineering. He's going to be presenting for us, showing us the ins and outs of SAS Backup from Arcserve, and we're just real excited to have him share some of what this product can do. And additionally, we're going to have some additional sales engineering backup with Rex Moffett, who's going to be answering some questions here and there for us in the Q&A. In addition, just a little bit of housekeeping items. We are giving away today a $400 Amazon gift card. We got a little bit of extra budget pop in at the last minute, and so we're actually very excited about the $400. So if we could just have, we love engagement. We love the questions that come into the chat. We log all of those, and we're going to have someone dedicated to answering those questions, just so that everybody knows exactly they've got the context that they need to get their questions answered. Martin, I'm going to go ahead and shut my mouth and let you take it away. Thank you so much.
All right, that sounds great. Thanks, Jordan. I appreciate the introduction, and I'm certainly happy for this opportunity to sit down and chat with you a little bit about why it's important to back up your SaaS environments. Oftentimes that's something that gets kind of overlooked, as something that a lot of organizations are adopting these days. They kind of overlook the fact that that data is still pretty sensitive. Oftentimes it may not be protected the way we want it to, so being able to recover from some kind of a problem is important. So I'm going to be covering those topics. We'll introduce you as well to the Arcserve SaaS Backup product, and you can kind of get an idea of what it's all about. We'll take you into the environment, and you'll be able to look at it and see just how easy it is to use, how easy it is to set things up for backup, for restore, and all of that. So I'm really glad that everybody has attended today, and we'll go ahead and get forward then. Again, my name is Martin Merrill, a sales engineer with Arcserve. I've been with the organization for just over a year now. However, I have a history with the Arcserve to some degree. Even before that, I was with a company called StorageCraft several years back. I left them and then came right back because it is a good opportunity, and it's been actually a really great company to work for. However, SaaS Backup. So, software as a service is becoming more and more rampant, used. I'm sure everybody out here understands and has probably used to some degree Microsoft 365, if not as possible Google Workspaces and all of that. But software as a service is something that is really growing out there in the industry. It's something that we're expecting to see some really, really great growth within the next few years. In fact, this little stat that you're seeing on the screen right here, by 2029, we're expecting that market to reach upwards of $720 billion. There's a lot of opportunity there. So, lucky for Arcserve, we're kind of jumping in on that and see if we can get a piece of that pie, right? But what that does is that shows just how important it is to kind of keep the idea of software as a service top of mind, right? Whenever we're dealing with these web-based services that that we could take advantage of. Now, what are the things that are actually driving this growth? I'm sure everybody out here has probably seen one or two of these drivers affect them to some degree. You can see that SaaS is no longer just a place where developers are parking their code or kind of doing their working, but it's becoming more and more widely adopted. More and more frequently we are hearing about Microsoft 365. Heck, we're hearing a lot about Salesforce. Salesforce has become a huge product out there in the industry. So you're probably going to find that a lot of what we're going to be touching on here, you've seen or even taken part of it to some degree. One of the things that I find interesting is, this one about midway post-hybrid workforce, or the post-COVID hybrid workforce is fueling growth. I don't think anybody might have actually seen that coming, where for more than a year, organizations were pretty much forced to keep their workforce at home. So that really had to make a quick change in the way they were doing business, and being able to take advantage of SaaS applications and SaaS services really helped to make sure that was possible, that their workforce could work from home. But there's a lot of advantages to it as well. Down to the second to last option there, provides a lot of dexterity, client availability, security, productivity. So there's reasons why the SaaS SaaS services and applications are growing. It's because there's really a need for them now, more so than I think there's ever been in the past. Now, before we jump a little bit further into the whole SaaS thing, let's just introduce you to Arcserve. If you haven't worked with Arcserve at all in the past, it's important, I think, for you to realize that we've been around for a while. We are a leader in data protection and data resiliency, backup, disaster recovery, and all that type of thing. We've been doing this for a long, long time, since the 80s. I'm sure a lot of you here might even remember, a lot of these, I guess you could call them archaic applications or archaic services way back when, but Arcserve was really becoming large at the same time that Novell, NetWare, and all of that were kind of big players in the industry. So Arcserve's been around. We've been around the block. We know a thing or two about backing up and keeping data protected and safe, and being able to say that we've got a great SaaS backup solution in play is, I think, a nice another little feather in our cap that we're really happy to be able to share. In addition to just saying that we're a backup company, it's important to know that we work pretty much across, pretty much all industries, from small, medium businesses to the large to medium enterprises, and we have applications and products that'll kind of suit the needs for all of them. And you can see from this little graphic here, when you consider SaaS backup, that kind of fits within kind of any of them, from the small to medium or the mid to large organizations. SaaS backup is actually something that can be implemented amongst all the other things that Arcserve is able to do. So SaaS backup, of course, if you haven't figured that out yet, is our focus today, and we're going to talk about what it is that it can do for you. All right, differentiated SaaS application protection. I think you're going to like what you're going to be seeing here in just a little bit. So again, to kind of set the stage for where we're really going with this, it's likely there's a question, or at least there has been a question in your mind, as to why do we need to worry about SaaS backup? Why do we need to worry about backing up our SaaS environments? I think it's generally, I don't know if it's a huge misconception, but I think there's a misconception out there that just because you're hosting your data, to some other third parties, service, that they've got this, they've got you. Your data is good because, hey, that's what they're doing, right? They're making sure that I have access to their services, and when my data is stored within their environments, it's protected. That's not necessarily true. In fact, we'll take a look at this a little bit later on. Within the T's and C's of a lot of the providers that are out there, you're going to find that somewhere along the line, the end user, the client, is responsible for their own data. In fact, most SaaS environments, actually probably all of them, kind of work within this, what they call the shared responsibility model, where the provider actually provides the services. They're the ones that are responsible for the infrastructure that they're hosting in their own data centers, right? They're also the ones that are responsible for the software, everything that drives the service. So everything that makes the service work is the responsibility of the SaaS provider. But that doesn't necessarily translate to, hey, we're also going to make sure that anything that you put up there, or anything that you do within that environment, any data that you have there, is necessarily going to be protected. And so given that there is a shared responsibility for what's going on in that SaaS environment, the client's part is to make sure that there's adequate protection in place, that they're the ones that are in charge and finding ways to make sure that data is secure so that it can't be compromised, or at least to the very best of your ability. And it's also the user's responsibility to make sure that that data is backed up and can be recovered when the time comes, if that ever happens. And so it's not necessarily, once you've parked your data there, it's all good, and the provider's on the hook for anything that goes wrong with that data. The truth is, the end user is actually the one that holds that responsibility. And so, when I share that, a lot of people they raise their eyebrows. Some of them know, but a lot of them are like, oh yeah, really? I didn't know that. I didn't know that I had to protect my data. I didn't know that I had to actually back it up if I wanted to be able to restore when the time is needed. And here we go. This is an example of one of the one of the terms and conditions. This is actually from Microsoft 365. You'll see right there, it actually says that even though they will do their best to prevent outages and make sure the service is available, blah, 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 that whole little area that's outlined in yellow, they recommend that we regularly back up our content and data so that you store on the services using third-party apps and services. So they'll even suggest it. They'll say, yeah, we'll provide the service. We'll make the best effort to keep things running. And they'll even provide some tools, I think, to keep the data safe and secure. But ultimately, they definitely recommend that you back up your data on your own using some type of third-party app or service, right? So there we go. It is kind of important. It is kind of important to make sure that we're backing up that data. Now, when it comes to losing data, how is there any real risk there? I would say that the risk is minimized to a degree. I do believe that organizations out there are going to do their very best to make sure that their service is running, that it's protected as much as they can do it. However, analysts are out there kind of taking a look at the industry. They're taking a look at all the different platforms that are out there, and they've been able to come back and essentially make a little bit of a judgment that's saying by 2025, we're expecting at least one software as a service vendor is going to be breached by hackers, which could disrupt and cost their clients upwards of $100 million. That's kind of a big deal. And this isn't just me talking. This isn't just Arcserve speaking. This is these are a bunch of analysts that are out there kind of doing their very best to make sure that we're in the know about the things that could or could not happen within the industry. Right? This is actually something that Gartner has put together. So look at that. Imagine, and then when you consider who's going to get hit, who are the most likely organizations or services that are going to get hit, I would bet they're probably going to be some of the major ones that we already know about. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if and when this happens by 2025. It could very well be Microsoft that gets hit. It could very well be Google that gets hit. It could be very well, Salesforce. Any one of these that are, really big names when it comes to SaaS applications and SaaS services could be the ones that get hit. So you probably need to consider, okay, well, am I using one of those? If so, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if those are the ones that are kind of going to be the likely victims of an attack like this. So again, kind of another reason why we may want to back up that data so that we're not necessarily going to be affected, and we're not going to be the ones that end up having to pay, within that $100 million that they're expecting to see some major losses from. Now that's hacking, right? It's less likely that you're going to get hacked to compromise your data, less likely than you are to simply make your own silly little human mistakes, right? When it says right here, the reasons for data loss, 73% of data loss is actually caused because humans are imperfect and we delete things, stupidly, or, we may misuse an application. We might, this takes me back in the olden days where, when you were using DOS and Windows 3 and all that kind of stuff, that actually made it easy for you to simply type in a command within a DOS environment and essentially delete your entire hard drive and reformat it, really without any protections, and that's the kind of stuff that people would do, and we really haven't changed much. Now our systems have changed a little bit to prevent that type of thing from happening, but still, it's really interesting to know that human error is what actually is the biggest cause for data loss. Now, of course, hacking is definitely part of it. Third-party software, it says right here, synchronization errors, those types of things might also be reasons for data loss. But given the fact that everybody that utilizes one of these software as a service applications or platforms is human, it's likely that when you do see data problems, data loss, it's most likely caused by us, the users. And so we need to keep that in mind. And given that we're interacting with them day in and day out, the likelihood continues to get higher and higher as time goes by, right? So let's not forget that. Let's not forget that we're only looking for data loss because of major catastrophes or hacking and stuff like that. No, the real culprits really are us, the ones that use it every day. We got to be real careful. So what does Arcserve have to really kind of help mitigate the damage when there is data loss in the cloud, right? Well, Arcserve has been now offering over the past year a really cool product. We call it Arcserve SaaS Backup. We're real creative that way. And it is a unique cloud-to-cloud application for recovery and backup of most of the popular SaaS applications. It's designed to always be available. It's very, very simple to use. You'll take a look at these additional bullet points there: unparalleled redundancy, 2x2 backups. So there's at least 4 copies of your backups that are existing at any point in time. It is purpose-built for security. Not just anybody can log in to the environment to perform backups or do restores. There's actually users that need to be created and roles associated with those users so that nobody's given access that they shouldn't have. And then you'll also not, enjoy the fact that it is a single pane of glass essentially to manage it with multi-tenancy. And of course, the role-based access control. Now, Arcserve SaaS Backup is currently backing up these different environments. So of course, we'll do complete backups of Microsoft 365. We will do comprehensive backup of Google Workspaces, right? We'll do comprehensive backup of Dynamics, of Salesforce, but that one on the top, which is actually kind of interesting, right there in the center, comprehensive coverage across Azure Active Directory. Arcserve actually backs up Active Directory as well, Azure Active Directory. One of the things that makes that kind of unique and important is the fact that if you are working in a Microsoft 365 environment, you're a user or maybe even just an administrator, it's still looking at Azure Active Directory to manage those users and manage access and all that kind of stuff. If that Active Directory environment gets affected, if you're now seeing data loss, if a whole series of users gets wiped out, well, guess what? Those users they don't any longer have access to their Microsoft 365 account. They can't do anything. It's inaccessible. And so you got to worry now about re-adding all of them, setting all of their permissions back up, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas if you were to just back that Azure Active Directory environment up, all you got to do is restore the data, and boom, everything's back. Those users are now back. They now have access again. That's a piece that kind of gets overlooked, I think, by a lot of our competitors even. A lot of people don't really understand or consider Active Directory, the Azure Active Directory, as something that needs to be addressed. So just one of the things that kind of separates what Arcserve is doing from the competition. Really interesting there. Now, when it comes to the protection and some of the other features, we've kind of touched on this with some of those bullet points, but data availability is actually very, very important. And we absolutely make sure that everything is easily available within our SaaS Backup environment. It is dedicated to securing software as a service data. It's designed to ensure data availability with those 4 copies of the data always being, always right there. We always have something that we can restore from. We have also designed the service to be cost effective. We want to make sure that we are very, very competitive in the market. We know that we're not the only solution out there that backs up the SaaS data, but I'll tell you what, I think that we probably have the strongest, or at least one of the strongest services out there to be able to provide this kind of a service. And we've priced it in such a way that I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. We're going to be very, very competitive. We've designed the solution to be simple. And I think you're going to see this. I'll have a few minutes to do a quick demo of our SaaS Backup solution. You'll be able to take a quick look at what that looks like. But I think you're going to find that it's actually quite simple to use. There's just a lot of point and click that is done to gain access to data that has been deleted and needs to be recovered. And I think you're going to like that. It is instant when it comes to recovery. It's not like we have to put in a request to get the data back. Instead, when we want to restore something, we essentially hit go, and it's restored, it's recovered. It's not something that we have to wait for. We can get that data back pretty much instantaneously. And then of course it's secure. I talked a little bit about how we use role-based access control with creating our users, and I'll get into that a little bit further as well. But the solution itself wouldn't be a really great backup solution if the backups themselves were also not secure. So as you can see, we utilize immutable technology on the back end. We make sure that those backups that we have cannot be changed. Even if for some strange reason our own data centers become, they get hit with ransomware or whatever, that backup data still cannot be changed. The data is immutable and is going to be there. It's encrypted in transit and rest. We offer multi-factor authentication for our users, no expired snapshots, and we're always doing penetration testing just to make sure that we're blocking and sealing any holes in the solution. Okay, so in terms of users and being able to limit and provide access, it's important to note that we offer a very strong role-based access control in order to create our users and make sure that anybody that is utilizing the solution is utilizing only those pieces that they're allowed to use. We have administrative roles, we've got additional management roles, we've got preview roles and all of that. So you can actually see that list of the different roles that can be assigned to the users as you create them. So it's very likely you'll have maybe 1 or 2 administrative users at a client side for Microsoft 365, and then the rest of them, you're going to probably limit their roles to only be able to do things that you want them to be able to do. So they're not, performing restores that really shouldn't be authorized, or this and that type of thing. So we definitely offer role-based access control. And then when it comes to our users, it's important to note that we can enable secure sign-on, multi-factor authentication, so that only those users that have been granted access at all to the solution can actually get in. In terms of what we offer, what Arcserve offers compared to our competitor, you'll see that there's a couple big names in here that you probably all heard of. They all offer their own software as a service backup solution. But I think you're going to find that we're actually very, very competitive compared to what they offer. For example, when it comes to Veeam, right there, right up front, I think the 5th one down, you can see that we offer the backup for Azure. They do not. There's going to be a number of things that you're going to find that sets Arcserve apart from the competition, and you can see that we stack up very, very well when it comes to what we're able to do versus what a lot of our competitors are able to do. And the thing is, a lot of our competitors also have some really great solutions out there, but I wanted to make sure that you had a quick look at this to see that, we do have a very strong product. We are very, very competitive, and there's lots of reasons to consider Arcserve when it comes to protecting your SaaS backup environment or your SaaS environments, right? Some of the additional differentiators, all right? We can kind of go down that list. We are secure by design. Our backups, again, are immutable with encryption rested and as well as in transit. We have a delete protect option. We have data sovereignty and redundancy, 4 copies of those backups in 2 data centers within each geolocation. I think there's another slide that'll kind of illustrate that here in just a second. Again, it's very cost effective. This is a solution that is not going to break the bank. We offer very broad and extensive coverage, right? Great protection for Microsoft 365 and these other applications that we've talked about. It is a very simple setup. That little statistic that it has there, less than 5 minutes for initial setup, that's pretty close to the truth. I'll show you what it looks like to create and add connectors into these different environments so that you can go ahead and do your backups. I'll show you how quick and easy it is to add those types of connectors. We have a very smart search capability. Our restores are also very accurate, and it is a tamper-proof cloud infrastructure. All right, so again, these are some differentiators that are made by Arcserve compared to a lot of our competitors. Okay, looks like I am doing the demo. I was expecting one more slide to come up there, but I guess I must have removed it. But it kind of talked about the multiple copies. So there are data centers that hold this backup data scattered throughout the globe. Here in the United States, we've got 2 data centers. And in each data center, there are 4 copies. Each data center, the way we got things set up, each data center itself is redundant, and then within each one of those redundant tenants, there are 2 copies of the backups being held. So we've got data centers here in the United States. We have a data center in Canada. We've got data centers in Europe, and as well as in Asia, the Pacific Rim. So as far as that redundancy goes, that's what I was hoping to illustrate for you. But at this point, I'm going to jump right into the demo. I think you're going to like what you see. We'll go ahead and show you what everything looks like. Here we go. I don't think I'm going to go full screen because my screen is a little bit wide and it's a little bit wonky. So I hope that doesn't take away from too much. But as a managed service provider, you will gain access to the the SAS Backup environment through our web portal. What's nice is that the MSP portal here has got some nice details when you get to it. It'll kind of show, you know, which connectors you currently have and some basic statistics. But to actually do anything, you are going to want to get into the SAS Backup environment itself, which looks like this. All right. This is the Arcserve SaaS Backup environment. Now, when you first log in, you're going to be greeted with a nice little dashboard. And this dashboard is going to show you the details of, you know, the pertinent things that you might want to know about your backups. Were they successful? And we've broken it out by each of the different connectors. So from Azure Active Directory Backup, this is the current status. I've had 14 jobs recently. Everything is successful. Talks about how many users I've got, how many groups we're dealing with, when my next backup will happen. If a backup is actually running at the time that we log in, we'll see a nice little progress bar and all of this. So, you know, each one of these different connectors, you can then scroll through and see, all right, well, how's my Google environment looking? How's my OneDrive looking? You know, and you know, that's what you're initially going to get when you first log into the SAS Backup environment. Now, to actually do anything, you're going to want to leave our dashboard and come over here and start with the connector detail page. You can see we've had a whole bunch of connectors in this environment. A number of them have been removed. You got to remember this is a demo environment, so you know, this kind of looks a little bit cluttered, but you can see we do have a number of active environments that we are backing up. You know, we've got SharePoint, OneDrive, and all of these stuff, all of these things. If I wanted to add a connector, the process is very, very simple. If this is my very first time utilizing solution, this is all going to be blank. There'll be nothing here, but you are going to see this add connector option where we can go down and say, all right, which one of those supported environments do I want to add? You know, so let's go ahead and take Microsoft 365, for instance. We'll go ahead and say, all right, yep, we're going to do this. It'll give me some details and kind of tell me, yeah, you're doing the right thing, backing it up. To create the connector, we simply click on Create Connector. It'll then take me to a login to get into Microsoft. We're not necessarily logging in. I mean, I guess we are. We're logging in, but what we're actually doing is sending those credentials or capturing the credentials that are needed to gain access into that environment. At which point you'll be asked, you know, to agree, yes, I'm granting access to this particular user, and it will go ahead and begin the process of adding that account. Hopefully I didn't. Look at that. Going back, it decided to quit on me. So let's try this again. All right, so once I've added the connector and I've logged in, you know, using my credentials, it'll then take me to a screen that looks like this, where I can actually configure that connector. Oh, let's see, that's no fun. Let's see if it'll, see if any one of these, I want to be able to see that. I may have to go to a different environment here. I didn't realize that those credentials are gone. So give me just a sec. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a minute while I get into another environment. So just a second. You know, those are the dangers of doing a live demo. Every now and then that kind of stuff happens.
And Martin, while you're pulling that up, just wanted to thank everybody for their questions. I have a lot of good inquiries here. You know, a lot of them allow us to kind of answer those questions and showcase where, you know, Arcserve is a strong solution, particularly with the data centers and the multiple copies.
All right, I think I could probably start sharing again. All right. All right, we still looking at the same screen that we were before? Yes, we are. Okay, excellent. All right, so again, we're back to the portal. I can go ahead and manage. And this is a environment that I think everything should still be, yeah, I think everything's good here. So not to be too repetitive, you know, you add the connector, you grant the permissions, and then it'll take you to a screen that looks like, nah, come on, don't tell me that. All right, well, anyway, it takes you up into a window that allows you to go in and select, what is going to be backed up. So specifically with Microsoft 365, which is nice, it'll actually come up with a little window and allows you to either turn on or off your Exchange environment or OneDrive or SharePoint or Teams. And you can actually turn those on and off, and have them, be the only services or solutions within Microsoft 365 to be backed up. And then in addition, you can drill down and say, all right, let's say I'm going to back up my Exchange environment. I can then drill down a little bit further, and I can choose the different data types, which users I want to be backed up. So it gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of being able to control what you're going to be backing up within those connectors. Now, once those connectors are added, then you can go in and start doing all the cool stuff, all the restores and everything that you would want to do. And so these connectors are still live. Everything's backed up. I'm still going to be able to show you. It's just not going to allow me to make any configuration changes here. So that's what I was unable to show at this point. But let's say then I need to do some restores. Okay, it's within Microsoft 365. Maybe there's some emails that need to be, that need to be restored. I would simply drill down on the connector. And I can either go, step by step to find what it is that I need. I can, click on my users, go here to Outlook, in the inbox. I can go ahead and find the file that I need, and my options to restore are right over here. So it's very, very simple. So this is the email that I could grab, for Adele. It was deleted, but I want to restore it. I was able to just view it and see it and make sure that's the actual email that I want. And then my option to restore is just found right over here. And when I click on restore, it says, all right, it'll go ahead and go for it. It allows me the option to confirm yes or no, do I really want to do that? And boom, I can go ahead and get that restored, and it goes back to where it needs to be. That's one method of being able to restore. Another method, if I don't want to, let's say I don't exactly know where that email came from, but I know the subject of it. I could just go ahead and put, utilize the filter in here, and it'll go ahead and find what it is that I'm looking for as well. So it's a very strong search function that will go out and it'll find, what it is that I'm looking for. And this could be an email. This could be a document that I'm keeping on my OneDrive. It could be a shared document in SharePoint. In Salesforce, it can be user records and all those types of things. So this functionality is going to be found across all the different backup environments that we work within. So that's another way that you could do a restore. It's very likely you're probably asking, yeah, but Martin, what if I need to restore a whole lot more? Maybe there's an entire user that has been deleted, or maybe my entire Exchange has been corrupted somehow. I need to restore pretty much all of it back. Is there a bulk restore option? And there certainly is. And I would simply go back over here to where my connectors are, and we actually have a restore wizard that I can launch, which allows me to do that. If I wanted to restore back to the same environment, I would simply use this restore option, or we also have the ability to do restores like this from one user to another, right? And import from different connectors. But the restore wizard is actually kind of cool. If I wanted to do a complete restore, I come over here, I choose the point in time that I want to restore from, and just follow the prompts. Let's say it's Exchange, it's OneDrive or whatever. I simply, choose what it is that I need to recover. If it's all of my users, and all their contacts and all their mail and all that stuff, this is where I can kind of choose, all right, what is actually needed to be recovered? And then how do I want to recover? I can either restore it in place, to a new folder, and, how do we handle duplicates? I simply set those parameters. Then it says, okay, this is what we're recovering, and my final option then is to restore. So we can do bulk restores as well, right? So again, everything that you're going to be doing just kind of starts over here within this connector's view, and we just kind of drill down what we need to. Now you're seeing a bunch of other things over here, right? One that I want to highlight is this little shared icon for public links. I think you're going to like this. Let's say that we've got, let's see, no. I don't think she has much data. We'll go back to Adele as an instance, right? And she's had a number of documents deleted or something like that from her OneDrive. Well, we find the file that we want to be able to restore, and you'll notice that we actually have an option right here to share, which will allow us to create a public link. So if I wanted to, take this video preview, for example, and I needed to restore it, maybe not necessarily store it, but at least share it out so people had access to it. I would simply hit that link, or that share link, or the create share, hit create link. I can then copy that link. I can put, I can secure it, make sure that it only is accessed by those that have a password. But anyway, I create that link, and if I want to find it, I simply utilize that link, and I have now the ability to grab that file. I can download it, print it, whatever my options are there. So the ability to share any one of these items is actually, really kind of cool. And then if I wanted to find out what links are currently available, this is where I'd come over here to that link, and boom, these are all the public links that are currently available. And if I don't want to share anymore, all I have to do is come on over here and delete the link. We're no longer sharing. Hopefully everybody that needed access to that file has taken advantage before I deleted it, right? A couple more things I want to highlight, right? We do have tools in place to monitor the status of your backup jobs. All right, so you can actually see when it comes to our backups, what the details are for the last Microsoft 365 backup, et cetera, et cetera. We also offer an audit log. So when our users do log in, we're able to track and see what it is that they were doing. We can see, who's come in and performed restores, who's come in and maybe added a new connector. We can actually see, what's been going on in that regard. This final thing right here is also kind of interesting. I don't know that you're going to see this in a lot of our competitors, but it's the ability to flag items with a right to be forgotten tag. Right to be forgotten is the idea. Well, the idea behind it kind of started with one of these compliance, the compliance programs back in Europe, where we want to make sure that our users and their users' data is being protected and kept confidential, and that nothing's being shared that shouldn't be. And so we have the ability. Let's say a user gets deleted from Microsoft 365. They left the company, so we delete the user. That their data is still there. It has been backed up. It is still in our environment, but maybe there are some legal provisions that require us to not be able to restore that data. You're going to notice again when you come back over to these connectors, I can come in to my users and I can say, maybe I don't want anything from Adele to be able to be restored anymore. All I need to do at that point is assign a right to be forgotten label. And when I do that, it'll actually say, all right, you can no longer access, their data. And that label exists here, and it'll also show right in here. So as we're going through and we're saying, all right, who or what has got that label attached to them, you can find by just clicking on here. And now if I were to do any kind of a search or any kind of a look for Adele, she is not going to have any options at all to do restores, right? Because the right to be forgotten label has been added. If I wanted to remove that label, I would just come over here and let me see. Yeah, and then just restore it so that now things are accessible again. So anyway, that's kind of a quick run through of the environment. We would love an opportunity, I think, for one, somebody like myself or Rex to sit down and maybe do a more complete and succinct demo for you. But I hope this is something that has been beneficial to you. We certainly want to make sure that your time is well spent whenever you're chatting with us, and I hope that I've given you, the information that you were looking for in terms of, why do we need to back up our SaaS environments, what's out there, and I hope that what I've shown you here with the Arcserve SaaS Backup has been good and a good thing. So we still have some time left. We're I guess maybe a couple minutes early. But we do have some time for questions and answers and that type of thing. At this point, Jordan, I'm going to go ahead and turn the time back over to you, and I'll let you kind of take it from here to finish things off.
Perfect. So, and thanks again, Martin, for the presentation. Unfortunate with that little hiccup there, technical difficulty. But I did want to also, just to foster a little bit of additional interactivity here with our webinars, we kind of want to hear from you guys. We've had some great questions. We download all of the questions, and our engineering and sales and account management teams go through those with a fine-tooth comb. we just want to make sure that we're getting to everybody. We've never done a poll before in one of our webinars. So, we just want to, give everybody an opportunity to, come through here and kind of tell us, okay, seeing some results come through. That's super helpful for us. And then additionally, so poll information, we love it. It super helps us inform decisions about product and really about how we address these things and message our products and services in the future. And I just wanted to, we want to make this, furthering the conversation, we want to make it kind of seamless. So in the webinar chat here, I have put a link that you can use to go request more information, a demo or a trial or what have you, to get a little bit further under the hood with SAS Backup, just like Martin was saying, maybe a little deeper conversation, a little more technical, just so that we can have the ins and outs of this product. So it looks like we've got 2-to-1 majority of everyone who's attending here. 2-to-1. Overwhelmingly, we've got yes, there is a mandate to back up SaaS application data like Microsoft 365, like Martin was showing you in our light demo today. So, yeah, that's it sounds like those numbers kind of speak for themselves. So the other thing, we obviously, as far as housekeeping, we want to make sure that that we get that gift card. So we, after going through the selection process, we've got Jeffrey Place as our winner. Looks like he had a couple of questions in there for us. And so, yeah, Jeffrey, if you could just confirm and let us know that, let us know what your email address was. We can confirm that, and we'll get that gift card out to you before the end of the week, before too long. I think we're gonna give everybody their 15 minutes back. So that's hopefully exciting for everybody. I know, Tuesday is kind of an extension of Monday light. And so it's gonna be good to have some of that time this afternoon back. I wanna thank everybody for joining. I wanna thank all of you for your wonderful questions. I've sent into the chat a place where you can go and request a demo or a trial for our SAS Backup product. So let's keep the conversation going. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Someone will be in touch, and then we can get into a deeper conversation. Also wanted to thank Rex Moffitt, our sales engineer, giving us a little bit of Q&A backup, who can get into some of those little more technical details. So thanks again, everybody. This has been a great show, and we look forward to having you guys join us on future webinars and getting some demo requests and some great questions on SAS Backup. We're going to leave the cast open so that we can still get poll results, and so that you can also ask any